reaching out to students. He says that that just imposes bias. He thinks bias is bad. And then also values clarification. That was another big theory of thought where it was kind of like there's no correct answer. Your morals are your own idea. You can kind of make it whatever you want it to be. He says that's also bad because then that kind of teaches students that there is no morality. There's no like right or wrong answer to anything. So then they can kind of do whatever they want. So for him, he defined moral development. There's three main components. So students, first, they must be exposed to the next stage of moral reasoning. So back to those 6 stages. If they're currently, let's say, in stage 2, they need to be exposed to stage 3, their next stage. They then have to be exposed to situations that contradict their current stage of thinking, which then causes them to become dissatisfied with the stage they're in. So an example we brought up of that was like the idea of if your family is starving, is it right to steal food in order to feed your family? So like those kind of things that you're like you really have to think about it. It kind of stretches your preconceived notions and causes you to not be satisfied with the stage you're in. And then finally, to move to that next stage of thinking, the students have to be exposed to an unbiased environment where they're able to like discuss those issues. So that's kind of how Kohlberg views how character education should be taught, more of just exposing students to situations. Do that. So that's his theory. Next we have a research-driven guide for educators. So this was an article I found by Marvin Berkowitz and Melinda Baer. And they conducted like a research study, and they studied a lot of different actual programs that are being implemented in schools today. And they did a lot of different collecting data and things like that to kind of find what main components make a quality character education in schools. So some of the biggest main points that they had were to actually train the people who implement the programs, because there often really isn't a lot of training. People just expect you to, oh, you know morals, you should be able to teach it. But there's not ever really training. So the programs that did train the teachers and school administration were the ones that were better programs. Having an actual leadership board that specifically like focuses on character education obviously helps, because that's like their main goal. So they're really like invested in it. This one, regularly assessing the program to make improvements, was huge. They said that was one of the biggest things that really helps it, because a lot of times you don't really, like we reflect on your academic lessons, but not so much on like the character education. So actually reflecting on it and being like, do they actually understand what I'm teaching them, or do they just like know the right answer? Bundling different programs together, so like taking pieces of all of them, and including parents and community. So that was what they found to work. The next one was another article by James Lenning. He actually had a book called Character Education, so he had a lot to say about it as well. And he found that the atmosphere of the school and the community was one of the biggest factors. So really just creating that culture in your school where students are cared for really improves the character of your students, because when they feel that they are actually cared for, they are more willing to care about others. Because when you feel your needs aren't met, you're not going to care about anything other than your needs being met. But once those needs are met, students are more able to see the views of others and things like that. So he also, a big thing, so that character develops in social environments. So just having social interactions with students is naturally going to cause character development to occur. Yeah, so those are some of his main things. Evaluation and reflection, again, he said are very important. So just reflecting back on in character education. And the last one I found that I thought was very interesting and very relevant to today is really tying character education into technology in the digital age, because this is a very big issue. Obviously, students use technology a lot. And with that, like there are great things from technology, but it can be used also in not the best way. Things like cyberbullying especially is very common in schools. So really just teaching students that character applies not only to their face-to-face relationships, but also to their online relationships. Because, so he talked about students living double lives, how it's a lot easier to bully someone when you don't see them, when you're just typing it online, than actually doing it face-to-face. So teaching students that just because it's easier to do that, just because you're online, your screen is kind of protecting you, doesn't mean it's right. So just providing programs to teach students to also like be very conscious about technology and how to have character while using technology as well. So those are the main things. Do you have any questions about anything? Or we'll go into discussions. I'll make sure we have enough time for that. A little longer than I thought, but yeah. So my personal opinion after doing all this research and stuff, basically I think there were, from all the authors, there were good points from all of them and things that can be taken from it. One thing that really stood out to me is from all the articles is the importance of creating that caring community and how that really just affects character in a way that a lot of other things don't. And then also evaluating and reflecting on your programs. So next we'll have our discussion. So let's make it a little creative. I have these questions. I was just going to put these questions in a hat and you'll pull one out. You can, so a group of 3, group of 2, discuss whatever question you pull out, talk about it amongst yourselves, and then we'll discuss for the last 8 minutes of class. But yeah, so I don't know, however you want to group yourselves up.
Do you think she wants the discussion part in the video? Okay, we'll keep it on. Whose face? I'll keep it on. She can hear our discussion.
Just so she knows that it happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You go ahead and pull a question.
If she doesn't want it.
Go ahead and discuss together your questions. I think there should be exactly.
Okay, I have the how can you combine character education with technology. I feel like there are so many different programs that there's got to be something out
And
there.
I think the biggest thing with that is to before you can even teach teaching proper character education, you need to teach proper behavior and technology, understanding digital. You don't give out yet. And once you have that, then I think the character education will come easier to teach once they have that knowledge of how to act on the internet.
And I don't know, I know that cyberbullying is a big thing, but honestly, when I think the internet these days and kids, I'm more worried about Momo than did you see
Yeah.
so I mean, but I guess that ties in. Maybe not with character education, but obviously it's not good. So I don't know. I just feel like there are so many different things about technology that you need to not only do you need to teach you need to be kind when over these social media websites, but you also need to teach how you cannot believe everything that is out there. So, yeah.
My question is, to what extent do you think teachers should teach character education in the classroom?
Just teaching kids, forget who it was, coming up right from our mom.
There's so the ties and stuff to our kids so much time.
And then how about teaching them right from the act? I think the act.
Yeah.
I think the thing that comes to mind between explicit instruction or taking teachable moments or modeling or doing different things that promote good character, kind of we're choosing the social environments.
Yeah.
But then you also need to teach okay, what does respect mean? What does it look like?
Yeah. And I think that if that is done well in the earlier grades, then you don't necessarily need to take the time with it in the older grades. But if you got into 5th grade and your students don't know what that means, then you're gonna have more issues, and then you're gonna need to like backtrack
And
and
that's the
like
year
teach
that
it.
that's the age where they're like, you can get older and everything. So like, I don't need to learn how to be nice.
Yeah,
So getting
So it's
them
better
when
to,
they're
like,
young.
yeah. But also like I do think that you can like teach character education just with how your classroom is set up and things like that. But like it all depends, because like it is so much easier like doing like if you have like a clip chart or something, like sometimes that's so much easier than like taking the time to have like a student reflect on like why they made that choice and all this stuff. But like that obviously like is better. But yeah.
So for these last like 3 minutes, if anyone wants to kind of share out what your groups talked about, what you discussed, any points that were interesting or share. Yeah.
So one of ours was how do we get parents and the community to be more involved in character education? And the first thing we thought was like you could poll the community, kind of like when we talked about like what schools should be teaching and should they be dependent on the community that you live in. So kind of like this, like pretty much direct reaching out. John also brought up a really good point that you can actually bring in community members to show them like how these kind of morals and this this better character can help you in the community, and where you can see examples of it. We've said also having the parents, keeping the parents updated on how their kids are doing. So not just telling parents, oh, Kevin really messed up in class today, and he needed to be disciplined. But just saying, hey, you know what? I noticed that Sarah really was helping out this one student who was having a lot of problems, and it was just really wonderful to see her go out of her way to do that. So just keeping them up to date with these kind of moral choices that the students are making in school. And then the last point that we had was maybe even community service projects, so giving students that opportunity to show how they've grown morally and what kind of moral decisions they can make. And it also gives them that responsibility and that opportunity to do something on their own and develop that innate goodness rather than being just given rewards for it.
Nice, yeah, those are all great ideas. I like the community involvement, like service projects, that's a great idea. Anything else I can share about?
You guys need to talk more. The two questions that we ended up talking about were like, what extent do you think teachers should teach character education in their classrooms, and then how can you combine character education with technology? And we just mentioned how like there probably were apps and things like that, like that you can get for your kid that like has like moral education tied in with it. But then we were also just talking about how like not only do you need to teach like how you should act over like the internet or over any social media, but also like taking it in and like kind of being able to like put up a filter of like what's actually true about what this person's saying, what's like actually true, like I don't know, because like there's been a lot like the past couple weeks that has come out like about like kids YouTube and like everything like that. And then for like teachers teaching it explicitly, we were talking about how like it's something that should be like throughout everything, but also like if you teach it explicitly in the younger grades, you're going to have less to work through in the older grades. So like maybe you take a half an hour and you do a character education program in kindergarten through 3rd grade, but then hopefully by the time you get to 6th grade, like a majority of the kids will like be through that point rather than having to teach, especially because Hannah was like, yeah, and at that stage they're all concerned with themselves and think they're all that. So like so much for character education, like you lost them. So yeah, that's what we were talking about.
Nice, awesome. Well, right now there are my sources, and character education. Thank you for doing